So we are in a Gemini new moon, which is always a fabulous opportunity to confront one's terrible twin self and come into balance. It is also the first of a series of 3 supermoons this new moon. And by supermoon we mean a moon that is so close to the earth that it has a greater impact than usual. And of course new moon just means we simply can't see it, not that it isn't there. So we're feeling the impact of cycles and biorhythms more so than usual. If you have been at all irritable in the past few days, as if you have a severe case of a rash inside your energy field and you're not quite certain how to scratch it, well, this new moon would explain that. In addition to that, the world as we know it seems to be tilting a little further on its axis. I'm hoping it'll just hit a tipping point and topple right over, but hey. And then north and south will be completely confused. But that might be another 100 or so years in the making. So I'm just putting the thought out there. I don't need a running commentary while I'm talking. So, this Gemini full moon is an opportunity, like I said, to confront one's shadow self and to work with the contracts that we have with self and others. So for today's meditation, I've asked my guides if we can do a new moon clearing chakra by chakra on self, in our sacred contract with self, or any other person of your own choice, intuitive or conscious choice, with whom you are aware of having a sacred contract or agreement. And part of the clearing work we want to do is, of course, in terms of the laws of spiritual policy, ethics. Firstly, it must be with permission. Secondly, it must be for the highest good of all parties concerned. Thirdly, it must come with the intention of no possible outcome for self. Any attachment to the outcome must be rescinded at the outset. And of course it must operate under the law of mutuality, which is that anything you are sending to the other, there must be a willingness to receive. And when we're doing this meditation, we want to be aware of how we are using ourselves as a channel in the universe to, in fact, send and receive energy. How we are, in fact, nothing more than a series of transmitters. So for everybody on WebEx, please take a deep breath in and get grounded. My network is a little floppy today. And in the room, just get grounded, everybody. Let's get present. Let's make sure that we are in-house and not wandering the freeways with Margaret. Okay. So one of the things we are going to do today is working with an old healing technique that I was taught years ago. And the technique is very simple in terms of infusing energy into the energy body, the auric field, the chakras, even the cellular body of any being with whom you have a sacred contract or with whom you have permission to work on their energy body. And in this particular circumstance, we view healing as nothing more than an infusion of positive energy to inspire, uplift the immune system energetically and physically, that there may be healing or a revitalization of the being you're working with, on the physical body, emotional body, mental body, and of course, because we're working from the spiritual body, the spiritual body. It requires that you be completely detached in terms of having no specified outcome. I cannot emphasize this enough. When I do this kind of healing, regardless of what my client is saying, I have to work with what I see, what I feel. In other words, I have to move past the ego story or physical plane understanding or perception of what they think requires healing and work with what the energy body gives me. And in our meditation on the vagus nerve, we understood that this vagus nerve sends information everywhere, creating vulnerabilities and highlighting wounds from one place in another space due to the connectivity of the system. So we know that although I perceive myself to be sick at point A, the source of the sickness might actually be point B or point C or point D. And this is why we just work with the energy body in the intention or with the intention to heal that which requires healing, that which requires an infusion of positive energy, regardless of what we think may be the problem. This is especially important if you are choosing to work on yourself, because self-perception is one of the greatest, grandest illusions on the planet. So we would really want you to set that aside and simply be in the moment, flow with where the energy flows, not trying to make rhyme or reason out of it, but just letting it be. And occasionally when I work on this technique with a client specifically, I find that the healing reverses direction and comes back at me. And now I'm not in the least bit surprised by it, because each and every one of us, as we live on the physical plane, requires an ongoing system of balancing. The general understanding is that you need to be fairly balanced in order to be a channel of healing energy, in order to serve others. And then, of course, the wider framework is that in serving others, we serve self. In healing others, we heal self. So while you're sitting there quietly, and I do want to move into the meditation as quickly as possible because it promises to be a fairly long one, I want you to think about who you would want to work with. The being you choose, firstly, must be a sacred contract, or you are aware of it as a sacred contract or a legal contract or any other kind of oath-bound or vow-bound agreement in this lifetime. 2, you have to get a little detached about it. And of course, you want to be conscious of your intention. Why are you choosing that person? Whether it is yourself, somebody who is still on the physical plane, or somebody who has crossed over, it's fine. We are all souls and we can work with souls on every level. But you must have a clear intention of why you are choosing that person. If you are choosing to work with someone on the other side, be aware that your perception of what needs to be healed may not actually apply, that what you are seeking to heal from here may in fact already be healed just by rescinding the physical body. So don't get into a tangle about whether or not the flow is unfolding as you would expect it to. In fact, have no expectations. Just like drop any understanding of the hows and whys these things happen, because there's a certain kind of magic that happens when we start sending energy. I always remember when my dad died and people were sending what the Americans are so very fond of, thoughts and prayers. When people were sending their blessings and sending their SMSs, every time something was sent from a sincere heart with a great deal of love or a clear intention to be a blessing, there would be this flash of light or a beam of light, different orbs of energy that would arrive. Somebody sent me a message saying they were sending angels to be by me, like a whole host arrived all at once. So it felt like there was a firework display going on in the house while I was dealing with funeral arrangements. And I think that was one of my first experiences of understanding how quickly energy moves just from a thought. One simple thought. Even without the SMS or text message, it arrived and made its presence felt. So we have great power and great magic available to us. Let us use it well.